let me, you had asked me about Bootsy and George. I was able to I did two separate photo sessions with George and Bootsy. And oh man, George brought costumes and stuff to the studio, and we had it all set up. And he did more than a couple of costume changes and wig changes and sunglasses, and it was fabulous. And we had, again, there was a trust. I was never asked to put my camera down in even some of the most intimate settings where people were just relaxing and or concentrating on something, and it was quiet, so you had to maintain, you had to be quiet. You couldn't just bust in there and start taking pictures. There's a whole mentality now that's like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. But part of that is fostered by the publicists who want you in and out, or who then will hold, they say, oh, well, let's wait until they get out of those sweaty clothes, and they're exhausted now. You want them exhausted. George always allowed me, in to get the exhaustion, to get to get the whole thing, the whole story. It was the same with Bootsy, again, Bootsy, the same thing. He brought a couple of different costumes. I got him in a motorcycle jacket, and that's, I don't think that's ever been seen before. Maybe one picture from Soul. See, the other thing is that people don't understand or can't appreciate is that, well, Regina would do two things, and she was my greatest enabler, is what I'll say. And I say that with love and respect. She never told us you can only shoot 5 rolls. Okay? So if we were in the thick of it, and we shot 20 rolls, we developed 20 rolls. She paid for 20 rolls of film. But the magazine, the newspaper was 18 pages. So that means, so you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
We have all this great stuff, but we never used it.
And you couldn't extend online back then. There was no internet.
There was no online. There was no internet. So you couldn't say, you can see more at www.soulnewspaper.com. I mean, maybe I'll talk to Regina about relaunching Soul as an internet newspaper. That would be wild, and we could do something from the 60s, 70s. Because I mean, she's got stuff from and access to stuff from the from 1966 forward. And these artists were excited to see us. They were excited to have us interview them. And in return, we treated them like they were the best in the world, and they were. I look back, I smile at some of the sensationalism, but that's okay, But I'm saying to you that, a typical assignment for me would be, or what I would have in a newspaper. I remember the Silvers. So I shot a 2-page spread, had about, 6 or 7 pictures on the Silvers, right? In Soul. And then I had David Ruffin at the Total Experience, and I had Taj Mahal and a black English artist named Linda Lewis at the Troubadour, and then I had Nina Simone at the Shrine Auditorium, and then I had Earth, Wind and Fire at the Hollywood Palladium, and I had somebody else. So I had like 6 different assignments. So what I'm saying to you is that You would shoot, you would do a quick edit, right? They would order prints, but then they'd only, maybe they do 2 shots. But if it was a review, they did 1. So that meant that all those 10 rolls of film that you shot never got seen. And it just went into my archives. So I was doing a lot of discovery. I mean, there's a great picture of Bootsy and Mudbone at the P-Funk Earth Tour show at the Los Angeles Coliseum in 1977. And Mudbone has just led Bootsy out to the stage because, you see, when Bootsy was in full regalia, Bootsy couldn't see out of them damn glasses, he was cool, but he couldn't see.
Yeah.
So he needed somebody to hide him out. And because his vision was, there was a price to being cool. His vision was sort of compromised. But Daddy, when they came around the corner and saw that crowd, and the look on Mudbone's face when he sees, and then Bootsy's behind him and he's describing it, Bootsy took some glasses off, man, and took another look. But, those were some of the things that had, lain dormant, if you will, in my archive. The stuff with Marvin Gaye and his mother, at breakfast, or rather lunch, when I went to lunch with Marvin Gaye and his brother Frankie, that stuff had never been used, and sometimes, one of the things that I wanted people to understand about this book was that this was not just some black guy screaming into a microphone. You understand what I mean there? It was more than that. It was the subtleties. It was the performances, but it was also the in the studio with Earth, Wind and Fire, or Gil Scott Heron, or on the road with LaBelle.
Yeah, the person behind the persona.
Right. And they got to wait in the airport just like we do. Earth, Wind and Fire flew by private jet sometimes, but not all the time. There was that understanding that there was an entire story there. And again, these were the days when you didn't have, a publicist pulling the spliff out of Bob Marley's mouth or taking the Jack Daniels out of somebody's hand. There was, you saw it all, and I photographed it all. Nothing was ever off limits, and there was, I think, though, there was a trust. We didn't go for the low blow. We didn't go for I didn't go for the gotcha photograph. And I think that's been forgotten in journalism now. But who knows? It was, like I say, it was a time that'll never come again. It was a time that lasted way past the midnight hour, and that I had the best seat in the house and was able to maybe document a portion of that. I would like to think is important, and it'll last a long time after I'm gone.
Those shots that you have of the Funk Fest from the Coliseum, from the perspective of the stage, and seeing just the massive humanity, those are breathtaking.
Yeah, like I said, rock and roll dipped in funk. Courtesy of George Clinton. You didn't have black acts doing that, playing those arenas. You have Beyonce doing that now. but you really didn't have. I mean, Diana Ross, Miss Ross did Central Park, but you didn't have them doing the big stadiums.
Well. Not only was it like such a big crowd, but it was so important to the African American culture too, because it was so. It was very much a, Black or African American experience at that time, and there was nothing else like it.
There's no question now, and okay, you're an LA guy.
Yep.
That probably means you were around when Wattstax happened.
Well, I was too young for that, but I was.
Well, 1972, Wattstax, same venue, Los Angeles Coliseum, but that was 1972. The Los Angeles City Council, the Los Angeles Police Department, and everybody in government at the time were up in arms, scared shitless that the Negroes were going to go crazy. And so they said, you can do the concert, but nobody can come out onto the field. They have to sit in the stadium seats as if it's a football game. So now fast forward, so that's 72, 5 years to 1977, and you've got 100,000 people in the stands and on the grass. You could not move. That's how packed it was. You could not move. And everybody was totally cool, but I mean, to understand, how, the needle got moved, a little bit, how it was a different time, how, here these years later, you had the police begrudgingly said okay, and this happened all over the United States, where they were playing to packed, sold out audiences in various venues, the Superdome and the venue down in Louisiana and all over the Midwest and through the South. So it was fabulous. You had in the musicianship at the time, folks were playing their asses off. You mentioned Bernie Worrell, and like I said, Boogie Mosin, and you think about, the work that Gary Scheider did, and then you think about, oh Lord, I just went blank, the guitar player, who
Eddie Hazel
replaced Eddie Hazel. I did a whole photo session with Eddie Hazel, after he had left, Parliament. But I knew that it was important that we had to have, Eddie Hazel in there, because of his station in life, courtesy of Parliament, and the work he did, on those songs. That's some classic stuff. So again, what we have here is actually a living visual document, and that has become my contribution to the funk and the R&B and soul canon is gratifying.
How did you decide? How did you decide on Stevie for the cover?
Because, well, that was a joint. That was a joint selection. I had always wanted Stevie on the cover. My second choice was George, but quite frankly, again, the publisher, they said, look, yes, we understand who George Clinton is, but they didn't want to take a chance on missing a sale. They thought that Stevie would be more recognizable to more, to a broader audience. And I've got to say, I think probably that was the correct move. And it's a wonderful shot. The blur and it's sort of it's not a literal Stevie Wonder. Okay, so I got a chance to play with that. And again, that's not a Photoshop photograph. That was done in my Nikon F2 camera, and it was done by painting the image onto the film in a time exposure, and experimenting and having some fun, and moving to the beat of one Stephen Morris. It was. Now, even on that shot, though, just a little background. Remember that phrase about you've always got to come back with a shot. There's no excuse. I had an assignment for Motown to photograph Stevie. I had complete access onto the stage and near him, but also I had to come back with something representative. Well, by this time this wasn't 1973. This was 1980, I think, or 81. And in 73, I could get right behind the drums where he was, and it was at the Hollywood Palladium, and I could go anywhere. He could have, in his set when he was playing the drums and reached over, he could have smacked me with a drumstick by accident, right? But now here I was, 1981, I think it was. He's surrounded by more of his instruments. So you had trouble getting, an interesting shot other than just a headshot. And a lot of the pictures you'll see are just headshots. Well, that's boring, but you had to come back with that. Now, once I established that I had gotten the shot, right, then I started to play. That's when I put it on. I think I had a tripod at the time. I put the camera on the tripod so I could steady that, and then moved the camera did different shutter speeds, so there was less movement in a faster shutter speed or more movement. Use the aperture to get more color saturation, and again, you have to know what your camera is capable of. You have to know what a regular photograph is going to look like, and then you paint from there. So again, this was a picture I couldn't show this to a publicist because they'd say, it's out of focus. It's blurry. We need to see Stevie, okay? And so in the end, this of course worked for a book cover because it's striking in its in the way it in the way it looks and the way it works. There's just enough Stevie so you can see you can see who he is. If you listen to any of that music during that period, that's Stevie. It's not Marvin. I've had folks come up and they've immediately told me, oh, that's Marvin, or that's Stevie. That's a great shot. And I think I've only had one or two people say, who is that? And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for something that would be impactful, and they loved it. So look, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Was there anyone that stands out from that period that was particularly temperamental or kind of challenging to do a shoot?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, I was never asked to put my camera down. I had this total access. I could go anywhere I wanted, but again, there's a responsibility with that. So, I asked the LaBelle, are you ladies decent, or at least decent enough so I can come in and take some pictures of you glamming up and getting ready? So again, you don't bust in, Now my dogs are going to bark again because someone is coming up to deliver a package from Amazon. So just letting you know, they're seeing that. Here they go. Hold on a second, they'll finish their meal. But okay. I think we should sort of wrap this up.
I'd like to ask you two more questions.
Okay, hold on then. Well, you gotta hold.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Before we jump back in, I just wanted to mention to you, I've seen him probably 30 or 40 times, but I'm seeing George Clinton's show tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. It's in Mass?
Well, I'm in
Massachusetts?
No, I'm in North Carolina, so it's in...
You're in North Carolina right now, okay.
It's in Greensboro.
All righty. Well, yeah, this is his... This supposedly is his farewell tour. I heard through the grapevine that he was going to end it here at the Hollywood Bowl. I don't know if that's true or not, but if he does, I might show up for that. That'd be kind of fun. I showed up for James Brown's 70th birthday celebration at the Hollywood Bowl, and it was something. I mean, he was still doing splits at 70, so that's quite a deal. But yeah, those two more questions. I apologize for going on and on. But
yeah, I got two more questions. Also,
okay.
as you were talking, Bruce, I'm sure that there were concerts and shows in the mid to late 70s that probably we were both at, because I hit almost everyone that came through during that period. So.
Oh yeah, I've had people, tell me, I was there, and I was at this, because you see, you got to understand, I photographed, just in Los Angeles alone, the Total Experience, the Crenshaw Palace, the Soul Train Club. Those were all on Crenshaw in South LA, right? They're all gone now. But then the Troubadour, Doug Weston's Troubadour, I was down there a lot. I was at Minnie Riperton's first. She wasn't the headliner, but it was her, one of her first. I think it was her first solo LA show, and I took photographs there. Okay, so the Troubadour,
did you do many at the Roxy?
Oh yeah, the Roxy.
Because I went to everything there. Yeah.
I was at the Roxy. All the time, and it was funny because you ended up, if you were working for these record companies, you ended up going, and as as it progressed, and what I mean by that is, in the late '70s when I was doing stuff, you negotiated for more. You got a ticket plus you could bring a date, okay, and or you could have dinner, and they give you a drink tab and a dinner tab, okay. So and your fees went up. You went from $50 a night to I think $150 a night to cover a performance. And plus, drinks, and you could bring somebody. I went on a bunch of cheap dates, baby. but I mean, that's sort of I mean, so you had the whiskey, you had the LA Sports Arena, you had the Coliseum, you had the
Greek Theater.
Inglewood Forum, you had the Greek Theater, you had the Universal Amphitheater, you had the Hollywood Bowl, you had the Palomino Club, you had some people went to the fucking Palomino Club. You had
remember the Starwood? I saw P-Funk.
You had the Starwood. I saw Edwin Starr there. You had the San Diego Sports Arena, or whatever it was called. You had UC San Diego. You had the Berkeley
Long Beach Arena.
Yeah, you had the Long Beach Arena. You had the Berkeley Jazz Festival in the Greek Theater there up in Berkeley. You had so you had like all these different venues. Then you had Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. And this was long before, quote, residencies. Okay? I mean, it was fascinating. I mean, all the different types of venues. And
it's another good point, Bruce, and I still got those two questions, but when you talked about there was no internet and all that, also at that time, cameras and any kind of photographic equipment was totally prohibited in events. So now when people take their phone to everything and take pictures, but back then you could not on your own get pictures of those people.
That's true. You had to have an assignment. I mean, people would smuggle in a damn camera, but but it was like, you're on the, you're back on the North 40, backfield sideline, so you really couldn't get, a great shot. And you couldn't get a great shot with a damn telephoto lens most of the time. I mean, from way back, it just didn't matter. I mean, you had to be in the middle of it. I mean, when I was photographing, one of the things, I mean, I would do stuff like use a monopod to raise a camera and get it level with the performer on a 20-foot or a 10-foot stage. You see what I mean? So you could, you got a different perspective, and I would use this. You got to remember, this was before autofocus and auto exposure. So you had to, set your camera, and where the performer's going to be, and you figure out roughly, where the focal point or the focus point is. And that's where how I got that great shot of Verdine looking like he's playing right into the camera, and the performance shot. And those were the types of things that made my photography different. I was always trying to move my cameras like movie cameras, and this was really before I started to work in the movie industry, and I've always been fascinated with motion. I've always been fascinated with putting the camera somewhere that you didn't expect it. And I was always trying to figure that out, how I could do it better. And that ended up giving me some fabulous shots. I mean, I remember with Bob Marley, just pulling off the top and putting the camera actually on the deck and shooting up at him when he was warming up. And I got these wonderful shots. I mean, it's literally a worm's eye view of Bob Marley and Family Man, as they warm up over at UCLA. That was another venue, UCLA. You played
Poly Pavilion, yeah.
And the Santa Monica Civic. People forget
That's right.
about the Santa Monica Civic.
Yep. Actually, the first show I ever saw, Bruce, was at the Santa Monica Civic. I saw the Eagles in 1972 with my sister.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are these two questions? Let me grab a glass of water.
Sure.
Get ready to ask me the questions. Hold on.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So back in. So Bruce, was there ever a shot or an opportunity or a session that sort of got away from you or didn't happen for some reason? Is there like any great white whale that sort of, eluded you or you missed an opportunity?
That's an interesting question, but I got to tell you, I'm pretty satisfied with what I got. It wasn't like there was something that I saw and I couldn't get it. I got to say, the access I had was incredible. While I was, in these various situations, I was the one that would end a photo session. After I got it, nobody ever said, "All right, man, that's it," right? I would say, "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you," or I think we got it, or I'd say, "Hey, let's just do one more," and I'd shoot 5 more shots, pop, 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 or I'd say, "Okay, we got it. Wait, Reese, I need you to walk, out of the frame." That picture where he's literally walking out of the frame. I sort of, had that idea, and so I had them. I made the frame not permanent, but stationary, and then let everybody, instead of following them as they walked out of the frame, I let them walk out of the frame, the group. And then I had, had Reese as the end shot. And again, they defer to you, on these sessions and stuff. And I never had anybody, say to me, "No, I'm not going to do that," or say, "Don't shoot that." So I've got to tell you, there's no white whales that I missed as far as, not being in front of my camera. Would I, someone asked me, well, who might you have wanted to photograph, if you, had the chance? I'd say I would have liked to have photographed Prince, but he was really gone by the time I was, gone, from doing that and doing movies. He was, he was still getting going, and he was doing a lot of stuff on the East Coast and in Minneapolis. So I missed him, and so I would have liked. I found out actually that I think it was Steve Ivory from Soul Newspaper told me years later, that Prince was actually on the stage. He had just signed, I guess, with Warner Brothers, and George Clinton had said, "Hey, we're doing this thing, the P-Funk Earth Tour," he was actually on the side of the stage watching George Clinton perform that night in 1977 when the P-Funk Earth Tour came to the Los Angeles Coliseum. So, that would have been cool to maybe had a shot. Like, I did shoot people in the audience. I did shoot people, who were enthralled, or just having such a good time, or just mesmerized. I would have loved to have gotten a shot like that, but that's one of those ones that may have happened, may not have happened. So I have no regrets. This, the work speaks for itself. Miles Davis used to talk about, analyzing the music, and he used to say, the music will speak for itself. And all I have done is I've just captured the photographs. I've captured what Rahsaan Roland Kirk, the great saxophone player, the great jazz saxophone player, called, the bright moments. I captured the bright moments. I think the bright moments will live on forever. I think that as I said, this is, I was there, when they exhaled. This music, this period lasted way past the midnight hour. I was there. I had the best seat in the house. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So I think that, when we look back, we will see how important maybe these little photographs are. And, in the scheme of things, because they're not making any more Marvin Gayes and Natalie Coles and Boogie Mosins and Bernie Morrells and Gary Scheiders and Arethas and they're all gone, and so I think if people, I said it in the book, and I'll say the same thing here. If people can understand and maybe appreciate how badass these musicians were, and how wonderful they were, and how dedicated they were, and can understand, what they were trying to do, and what they looked like when they were being badass. If they can come away and smile, then I've done my job. If they can smile when they remember, and they do. People have told me much too much. As far as what they were doing, who they were with, and et cetera, in the back seat of that car, when they were listening to Love and Happiness. So, if they can smile at the end of all that, then, when they look at these pictures and they can think about me next, then I have done what I started out to do.
Oh, you've definitely accomplished that, Bruce. You talk about getting the shot. You got all the shots. What are you doing now, and what should we keep an eye out for from Bruce Talamon?
Well, I'm still occasionally working on movie projects. I'm turning my attention more to book projects. I've got a couple of projects that I'm working on. One is a celebration of African American still photographers who worked in the movies, and from like 1968 when the first one arrived to the present, or maybe I might cut it off, after X number of years. I'm not sure, but I'm working on that with some people at the Academy, and because the list is quite wonderful. Who these people were, the movies that they worked on. They just didn't work on all black films. My career, I didn't work, on just black films. I was telling somebody today, I ended up doing, I think, 8 Eddie Murphy movies, for Eddie. But, I also did stuff with Goldie Hawn and Jessica Lange and Pee Wee Herman and later, Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts and doing work on some action stuff with for Steven Spielberg. And so I've had quite a career. But I mean, some of these guys, man, they did the stills for On Golden Pond. They did the stills for Flashdance, for Animal House, for Blues Brothers, and these were guys, Harry Met Sally, so I mean, and there ain't nothing black about that. So I mean, Barbra Streisand and Goldie Hawn, were competing for this fellow named John Shannon, who's this master photographer. So, a brother who did amazing work. I mean, he did American Gigolo. He did, the list of photographs, and movies that he worked on alone, or Howard Bingham, who did All the President's Men and Electric Horseman for Robert Redford. So I mean, these are people who, thoroughly and totally integrated into filmmaking, have done, amazing work. And so I'm putting together a celebration of that. And I'm working with a friend and historian on, all I can say is photographs from World War II that were shot by African American photographers, and that will be lots of fun. And I think it'll be what we're going to have is quite a document. I love the idea now. Of sharing experiences and celebrating photographers, and so there's a lot, and there's a lot to do on that front. I mean, I've been very fortunate. I've had a fabulous career. There's a lot of African American photographers who were not as fortunate as me. They did the work. They put in the time, but they don't have the recognition that they should. So I'm working on this thing with these guys from World War II who documented a very, very important period as far as black military, and so I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to that, and I can still be coaxed out of my house. If an interesting movie part comes up, to photograph. I've done interesting projects, and I love the problem solving. I'm still loving the problem solving. Okay, so there'll be other stuff. I've got a couple of ideas, and we'll see. Tashin was very, very, very supportive, for this book, and maybe we might have another Tashin book with a little luck. So we'll see.
Well, a lot of us are hoping to see some more of those types of shots. So hopefully, whether it's in another book or online or whatever project, eventually some more of those will get out to where we can see them. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Bruce, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for taking the time. Hey, back at Truth and Rhythm headquarters. Thank you for joining us on another magical ride with Truth and Rhythm. Whether you're watching or listening, as always, thank you so much for your continued interest and support. Be sure to subscribe. Go to YouTube. Go to the Funk and Stuff channel. That's where Truth and Rhythm lives and breathes and thrives. Also, goodies here like TIR Quick Takes. And if you subscribe, you know what? You get the show before anyone else. It's free. If you love jazz, funk, R&B, soul, you can't miss it. Pass it along. Tell a friend. Tell family. This audience is growing, and it is a beautiful thing, all coming together for the love of this great music. Also, if you can throw us a buck or two, we could use the support financially, keeping the lights on, keeping the servers going, all these expenses. If you can help support the program, whatever you can give, much appreciated. Go to the funkinstuff.net website, and on the right-hand side of every page, you just click and you can donate through PayPal, credit card, whatever. Very easy to do and so much appreciated. And if you do a sizable donation, I will mention you on the program. Also, drop me a line. Email me at scottg@funkinstuff.net. Let me know who else you'd like to see on the show, what you enjoy about the music. Let's just kibitz and talk about stuff, talk music. You'll find that I respond very quickly, and I much enjoy the rapport and the camaraderie and the interaction. Always remember, this is your show, The True Music Lover. So for now, that's all the time we have for this one. It's a wrap. As always, Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying, keep on vibrating to the rhythm of the one.